Hi and welcome to our recording today on Introduction to Me and My Mind, the East Sussex County Council Mental Health Support Teams. I'm Lucy Hill, I'm one of the managers for the Mental Health Support Teams and I focus on whole school approaches to mental health and emotional wellbeing. I'll pass you over to my colleague.
Hi, I'm Fiona Skinner and I'm the manager for clinical practice in the Mental Health Support Team.
Okay, so the aim of this recording today is to increase your knowledge of who we are as Me and My Mind, the mental health support teams, and how we can support your school community and how we can support children, young people, parents and school staff. Everything shown today is relevant to the time it was recorded, as we are showing some data. So of course that data will swiftly change and we are continuously developing our services to be responsive to the needs of the communities we serve. So here we are in February. This is how our services look today. But if you want to know more about us, if you're watching this a bit later on, then please do give us a call or look on CZone for the most up-to-date information. Everything we share in this video will be available on CZone, including the slides and any resources we refer to and the links as well. So the objectives is just covering what I've just said. So it's getting a better understanding of who we are as a team, and that's including the clinical work that we do with children and young people, how you can refer into our services, and the whole school approach work that we do with schools and how we can complement the provision that you've already got going on in schools. So why are we here? So we are here because of the green paper transforming children and young people's mental health provision that was published in 2017. We are funded by the NHS, the Department of Education and Health Education England. And of course, we talk to schools and colleges regularly, and many people are telling us that you're dealing with more and more mental health and emotional wellbeing issues on a day-to-day basis. Throughout what we're talking about today, we do a lot as a team, but we just need to be clear that the intention is not to replace any existing provision that's already in schools. We are here to complement what's already going on in schools, and that is existing external services as well that are being run in schools. So the mental health support teams are rolled out in stages. So we have a few waves with us now, but 4 teams in total and soon to be 5 in September. So this is also why we're here, talking about mental health and why the work we all do together is so important. So it's about promoting the healthy social and emotional development of all children and young people, recognising when children and young people are at risk of or experiencing mental health problems, identifying how to intervene early and appropriately when there are problems, and working towards destigmatisation and support open communication around wellbeing. So as you can see with these stats, in the short time of 4 years, the rate of mental health problems in children and young people have significantly increased. So from 1 in 6 children and young people having a probable mental health disorder in 2021. This shows the importance of everything we talk about today, as we know how difficult it is to effectively support those children and young people who may have higher mental health needs, whilst also managing the lower level needs and aiming to prevent mental health problems through creating effective whole school strategies to promoting mental health. Acting now can prevent potential mental health problems in adulthood, especially for those who experience 4 or more adverse childhood experiences, like the examples given here on this slide. So those household challenges, neglect and abuse. Information for all these stats are in these links below.
So who are we? We're made up of a team of different practitioners. We have education mental health practitioners called EMHPs. They have completed a year's training at Sussex University and they've been taught how to deliver low intensity evidence-based CBT approaches. We have senior mental health practitioners called SMHPs, and they have additional training. So we have in our team seniors who have a social work background, mental health nursing, school counsellor, and they come with a variety of different clinical skills and training. We have a specialist SEND SMHP, and they are working in our special schools using adapted approaches with children and young people. We have clinical psychologists in our teams, and they're able to provide clinical supervision to the team, and they also are able to work with slightly more complex young people still within our moderate level. We are also have educational psychologists who are part of our team, and they give training and guidance and consultation to our team, and particularly focus on the whole school approach. We have parent carer workers in our team as well who are delivering group work and who are able to support the EMHPs on working with parents and carers. We have Lucy, myself and Kalpana. We are the managers for the team, so clinical practice and whole school approach. Our team is supported by project assistants, and also we now have an apprentice, and we have a service manager who oversees the team. The MHSTs have three core functions. The first is that we deliver evidence-based interventions for mild to moderate mental health needs. This is done through one-to-one sessions, group work and parent support. The second core function is that we support the senior mental health lead in each education setting, and it's really important that we're working with them on how they introduce and develop their whole school approach, and Lucy will talk more about this through the presentation. Our third function is that we give advice to school and college staff, and we liaise with other specialist services to help children and young people get support and to stay in school. So that includes working alongside our colleagues in CAMS and in SPOA, and we would work with our colleagues in signposting onto services. So it may be speaking with CAMS about the need for diagnostic assessment. We may be speaking with SPOA about concerns regarding risk. What we currently offer in schools, so as we've said, we have one-to-one interventions. Primarily we're using a CBT approach, and that's to help with low mood, anxiety, phobias, healthy eating, worry and sleep. We're also introducing solution-focused therapy as well as another intervention. We are developing our psychoeducation workshops for children and young people, particularly looking at areas such as transition, and also providing support with exam stress. We're able to give training for school staff on mental health and emotional wellbeing topics. We have run a series of workshops and webinars, and we're able to go into schools to support in team meetings and assemblies on inset days. And we're supporting schools with the whole school approach to their mental health and emotional wellbeing, and making sure that that is really kept on the agenda for everyone. It's all leading to enabling children and young people to get access to the right support, and making sure that mental health support is in schools where young people can access that at an early stage. Parents and carers and of children that we support, we're looking at working with them, and our EMHPs are able to also deliver parent-led CBT work so that they are part of supporting children. And we have psychoeducation workshops for parents and carers that are run by our workers that can work with parents on a 6-week programme in schools.
So before we start, please do pause this recording for a minute and reflect on what you think the most common mental health and emotional wellbeing problems that students need support with at your school. So try and keep this in mind throughout this recording so that you can be thinking about why we were talking about this, what your school is already doing, and what needs reviewing or developing. The next few slides will go through some of the data we're collecting as a service, and we use this data to inform our work, whether addressing equalities issues as they arise or developing our whole school approach offer.
So the first data slide shows the reason for referrals, and it may not be a surprise that the main reason for referral comes under anxiety, and then that's followed by low mood depression. We've developed, in conjunction with our colleagues, an anxiety toolkit that's been shared with schools and it can be accessed on the C-Zone. And this is to support schools in being able to work with young people who are presenting with anxiety. And the really helpful thing for us with our data is that it can lead us to be able to develop interventions such as this because we can respond to the need. The second slide shows the age of children and young people that are referred to our service, and 10-year-olds is the highest age for referrals, and this is our Year 6 group of young people. This has helped us as a service to look at transition work and groups for Year 6 to be able to support them. And so in the schools that we're in, we're looking at working with young people in the terms before they leave school, over the summer period, or into the first term in the new academic year in their secondary school, so that we can support with that transition process. The third slide is looking at gender, and we can see the percentage of our referrals for gender. The work that's prompted from this data is that we've been working with our youth forum to look at ways to promote boys' mental health needs and for them to be recognised and supported, as we know that males can often be reluctant to access mental health support services, or quite often their mental health needs may be looked at in terms of behaviour. We've been working with Priority 154 and they've been working in some of our secondary schools with boys to look at how to promote male mental health.
Right, on to whole school approach. So our team uses the Public Health England's version of whole school approaches to mental health and emotional wellbeing as a framework for our work. I'll briefly cover some of the work we're doing under each principle as we go along. So the principles are leadership and management, enabling student voice, curriculum teaching and learning, ethos and environment, targeted support, working with parents and carers, identifying need and monitoring impact, and staff development and wellbeing. So overall, a whole school approach is about developing a positive ethos and culture where everyone feels that they belong. It involves working with families and making sure that the whole school community is welcoming, inclusive and respectful. It means maximising children's learning through promoting good mental health and wellbeing across the school, through the curriculum, early support for pupils, staff-pupil relationships, leadership and a commitment from everybody. So just to quickly show you that these are the underpinning documents that we're turned to for some information. So there is the Public Health England's Promoting Children and Young People's Emotional Health and Wellbeing, a whole school and college approach document, and the Mental Health and Behaviour in Schools from the Department for Education. And these points here, taken from Public Health England's Promoting Children and Young People's Emotional Health and Wellbeing document, showcasing why it's important to identify children and young people who need targeted support and to monitor the impact. These comments are from NICE guidance and could be used to show any members of staff who would like to see relevant guidance on why this work is important. And then following on from the same document, is what would Ofsted be looking for in inspections, particularly looking at the first point shown here, having a clear plan for targeted support, identifying those children and young people who need interventions, and having in place robust monitoring frameworks may be able to improve Ofsted outcomes as well. So the big question, who is responsible for whole school approach work in schools? So whose responsibility is it to be driving forward this work? As in the whole school approach principle, leadership and management, this work ideally needs to be driven by the senior leadership team. The Transforming Children and Young People's Green Paper recommends that all schools and colleges have in place a designated mental health lead by 2025. So in East Sussex here, we use the language senior mental health lead as we encourage a senior leader to take on this role. To help with this role, East Sussex County Council have an example role description that can be adapted and used, and ISEN's Mental Health and Emotional Wellbeing Schools and Colleges advisors run a DFE grant-funded training programme for senior mental health leads. So you can access information to that training using the link on this slide. So if you are not the senior mental health lead in your school, do you know who they are and what their responsibilities are? So although, I've just said the senior leadership team should be driving this work forward, they shouldn't be a lone voice. That senior mental health lead is really about creating the culture and bringing as many people into this as possible, because it is about creating positive change and preventative work for everybody involved. So not just the pupils or students in your school, it is about the parents and carers and the staff and the governors as well. So as you can see here, this the social and emotional learning is not one more thing on the plate, it is the plate. This kind of work is as important as safeguarding. So this plate works best for children and young people and families if all parts of the community around the children and young person are working together. Teaching children and young people life skills or self-management is a shared responsibility between school and home, who can draw on support from other organisations where necessary. So the ethos of the school and local services are key in fostering collaborative and integrative practice to ensure consistency and ease of use for children and young people and families. And just to be clear that in everything we talk about today, we are not asking people to be experts in mental health or to ever be encouraging people to diagnose anyone. This is about preventative work for everyone and getting the right support and access for the few who might need that extra helping hand. It is important to remember that everyone has mental health and well-being is on a sliding scale. We all have our good days and our bad days, but underpinning this is that whole school approach work can support preventing those down days being prolonged and potentially becoming a problem. So before we move on to how our teams can support with the different areas of whole school approach, please do pause the recording and have a think about these questions. Give yourself time to acknowledge your own thoughts about mental health in education and how you view your role as being part of the picture of supporting children and young people and your colleagues. So how can we support, as me and my mind, mental health support teams with whole school approaches? So our whole school approach work is about balancing how our service complements what you already have available in your school and how we can support you to do what you do best. So which is being the experts of your school community and responding to the needs of so many different families. We do know that every school is different, so we rely on effective partnership working between the school and our teams to make sure that we can work collaboratively together to produce the best outcomes possible for children and young people. As I said earlier, we are continually developing our services to be as relevant and responsive to your school's needs as possible. And this comes from acknowledging your expertise and working together. And as said on the slides, our doors are always open. You can talk to your senior mental health practitioner in your school or your education mental health practitioner in your school or one of the managers in our team. So where would we recommend starting? So many schools are completing audits of their whole school approaches to mental health and emotional wellbeing. And if your school hasn't, then we would encourage and support with using the Healthy Schools School Health Check Audit Tool or East Sussex County Council's Mental Health and Emotional Wellbeing auditing tool. We can also support with reviewing how the mental health support teams can complement existing provisions in schools and providing information, advice and guidance on mental health action plans. And we would also encourage schools to have a graduated response. So as you can see here, the universal section at the bottom is what is happening for everyone, what is available for everyone in your school, and moving up to those who need targeted support run by the school like Thrive or Nurture groups. And then again, specialist targeted support like our services. And finally, where can you go for support with higher levels of need? So this model just ensures that it is clearly set out and is easy to share with the whole school community. So if you planned on using this tool, please just think about, is there a designated person developing this and thinking about why things are being put in place and regularly reviewing what is going well and what isn't going quite so well and continuously asking that why question. Are all staff aware of what is on offer and confident to be able to have conversations about mental health with children and young people? Do they know what and how they can manage to respond to by themselves? So if they have anxious children in class, do they know how they can manage those situations themselves and how to identify those children in that classroom who may need that extra support? And do all staff know how children and young people can access that support? And how are children and young people being identified as needing additional support with their mental health? So that's overall. Does the school have clear referral pathways in place, or do you have a referral panel in your school? So with the Ethos and Environment, what we can help with is developing mental health and emotional wellbeing policies, and then the rest is about increasing visibility of mental health. But again, a fundamental part of embedding mental health into the culture of the school is by having that mental health and emotional wellbeing policy in place for students and staff. We can also help by we often regularly send out just materials and resources that you can use as displays or to use in that direct work with children and young people as well. And then underpinning this work, it is really important that the voice of students is informing any action plans for mental health and emotional wellbeing. So our work has included having a youth forum steer the development of services. They've also been providing arts-based pupil voice activities in schools. And one video has come out of that, which I will show you in a moment. It just demonstrates that young people can often have a lot to say, but sometimes need the right space and time to be able to say it. So
male stereotypes can often stop young men from talking about their mental health or well-being. Talking about our mental health and well-being should not be seen as a sign of weakness.
For us to talk to you about our mental health, we need to be able to trust you.
It's important that teachers go that extra mile to show us that they care.
It's important that adults show that they're understanding when we're talking about our mental health and well-being.
When talking about our mental health, we want male staff that we can relate to.
Obviously, teachers need to show us respect when we're talking to them about our mental health and well-being.
Don't let a sanction be the first resort.
Don't give students labels, particularly around their mental health and behaviour.
When thinking about our mental health, it's important that you put yourself in our shoes. If you want us boys to open up about our mental health, it's important that you allow us to voice our opinions.
Respect's important when we talk about mental health and well-being, because if I'm coming to talk to you about my mental health, I'd want you to reassure me that I'm not going to get judged, and you listen and respect me in general and respect my opinions.
As kids, we're obviously going to make mistakes. It's important that you allow us to draw a line under them and forget about them.
Okay, so as Fiona said at the beginning, we do offer psychoeducation sessions for children and young people, so in small groups, classrooms, or assemblies on the topics on this slide here. I will just say that psychoeducation sessions are really successful at raising awareness of mental health and emotional well-being in schools, but for longer term impact, it's really important, if possible, that when we come and deliver these psychoeducation sessions, that they are part of a bigger picture in your school, and they are part of that whole school approach work that's happening in your school. And then the next part is engaging parents and carers. So the EMHPs and the senior mental health practitioners do work with parents where they can. They deliver psychoeducation sessions for parents, and they also, update them on the work that's happening with children and young people in sessions. But we wanted to go a bit further with that. So we did ask schools last year about how can we support with your work with parents and carers more, and the things that you were all saying is that parents' own anxiety often increases the students' anxiety, and the parents were leaning on the school more, especially during those homeschooling days when we were in lockdown. but that seems to be continuing since then. Staff have mixed confidence and skills when working with parents and carers, and of course it is really hard to give the time that's needed, because your emphasis is keeping up that good quality teaching and supporting those children and young people. So we have recruited 2 parent and carer practitioners. So they will initially have a conversation with your school to see what are you doing with parents and carers so far, and what would you like to be doing, and then finding out how they can slot into and what's most that work that you're doing, and what's the most appropriate support that they can offer. So you can see on this slide that it can go either way. They do offer school staff training, they offer psychoeducation sessions for parents. They will share ideas and resources around developing action plans for working with parents and carers. They do run a 6-week group parenting programme as well, and they can support with consulting with parents and carers. And then the other important part of our work is staff development and wellbeing. As these statistics have been taken from the most recent 2021 Teachers Wellbeing Index, if we want to increase the positive outcomes for students in schools, then we also need to be supporting school staff with their wellbeing. As these stats show, school staff wellbeing scores are lower than the national population scores. So what are we doing in response to that? So iSend and SLES have come together to provide a supervision programme, which we are currently piloting. This aims to train school staff to be able to provide supervision for relevant roles in the school. Supervision is a professional conversation about the work staff are doing with clear boundaries. There is research available to show that supervision helps to improve staff wellbeing. It provides a space to bring the challenges of working with students and doing a bit of problem solving, emotionally offloading in an appropriate way, and provide development opportunities. And the other side is, that staff development is providing the training. So these are the topics that we currently provide training on, and the tailored support for senior mental health leads there is more around information, advice and guidance, and the ongoing conversations that we're having on a day-to-day basis. And we also do other cross-county work with developing toolkits in response to schools' requests as well. So as Fiona spoke about earlier, this is the link for the anxiety toolkit that's been produced recently, and the self-harm toolkit as well has recently been published too. So they are available on CZone, and the link's there to access. And the other thing that we've recently produced as a team is 7 different cards to help children and young people on a range of different topics. So this is just the front of the cards. On the back of the cards, there's lots of little tips that can be used. So these can often be given out to young people who you might feel may benefit from using these cards, but they are better if you have a wraparound conversation around how to use these cards most effectively and where it's most appropriate to use these cards as well. So they should have access to these cards, but if you are interested in looking at them and having some within your school, then please do talk to the mental health practitioner that's based in your school. You can get some to you. And then the last one is the identifying need and monitoring impact. So we can support in this area by that ongoing giving advice and guidance from referrals and signposting and referring to other services where we may not be the most appropriate service, encouraging schools to have a referral panel that oversees all the children and young people in their schools. We do try to link in with other programmes that are going on and existing provision that's happening in schools. And just to reiterate, encouraging that graduated response model, providing ideas and resources, and providing suggestions of tools to identify need. And one of those tools that we would suggest is the School Health, My School, My Health surveys. So on to interventions and one-to-one and group work.
Thanks, Lucy. So what can we help with? We work with mild to moderate mental health needs, and that would be positioned at a tier 2 level, or on the Thrive model, it would be at the getting help point of the Thrive. We can offer up to 10 sessions, and that does include assessment. And we carry out risk assessments as risk screening as part of our assessment. And if any risk is identified, then the practitioner would share information with the DSL, and we would complete a keeping safe plan with the young person with regard to any self-harming behaviours. And this keeping safe plan would always be shared with parents and with the school, and it's regularly reviewed. Our team uses a CBT approach, and we are moving on to also bring in brief solution focused therapy, which are both evidence-based approaches with young people. Our senior mental health practitioners are able to work with more complexity at the moderate level. And all our work starts with routine outcome measures that are completed by young people and by the parent carer. These are RCADs, which look at screening anxiety and depression, and strengths and difficulties, which focus on behaviour areas. With these outcome measures, they are scored at the beginning of intervention, and then we score at the end to see if the presenting scores have decreased through the intervention. At the end of our work, we also complete an evaluation questionnaire, taking into account the experience of the young person being seen by the service. And that information is really helpful for us as a team to then think about areas that we need to focus on, or feedback that we need to be able to give schools from their work with us. So one of the areas we work with is anxiety, and anxiety can present in different ways. So it could be that a young person is avoiding situations, and we can work with them on that. There may be phobias or repetitive distressing thoughts that can be impacting their self-esteem, leading to changes in behaviour. They may have negative automatic thoughts, so I'm no good or nobody likes me. And they may have a worry that could either be excessive worry that is real, or it can be imagined worry. And we're able to use our different interventions from our model. And we've also got the psychoeducation workshops that we can help support young people on understanding anxiety, school transition and exam stress. We've just also introduced in the Worry Busters group for children aged between 9 to 13 that is able to be a targeted group for young people, up to 8 sessions where we're able to look at managing worry. The other main area that we look at is low mood, and it could be that a young person has experienced a life event that's led to their mood worsening. It could be showing in lack of motivation. They may be disengaging from activities that they used to enjoy. They may withdraw from social interaction with friends or others. There may be a history of self-harm or thoughts of self-harm or intermittent self-harm, and if a young person is presenting with that, we can look at supporting them. And we're also using our resource cards as a really useful way to support young people in distractions, in self-soothing, in grounding techniques, which can be a useful way of managing feelings in the moment. And we are also able to look at problem solving with young people. Other areas that we can look at as a team is sleep hygiene and poor sleep routines, or anxiety-based nighttime avoidance, behaviours and worries at night. So it may be that there are young people who are finding it hard to go to bed on their own, so we can be working with them. And that's always really important, to be working and involving parents in that work. We can look at healthy eating and poor eating habits. We don't work with eating disorders as such, and I'll go on to that in a bit more detail in a minute. But we can think about how young people's eating habits are being managed. We're able to give psychoeducation to families and teaching staff who'd like to get a better understanding of the mental health needs of young people and how to support, and Lucy's already mentioned that in the whole school approach. And as we've already said, we're looking at the group work for young people, so it's the exam stress and the worry busters, or the anxiety group for 13+. The areas that we can't support in, so as a team we need to be really clear that we work with young people in an appropriate way, and so there are young people that we can't support with certain presentations. So if a young person has got a significant trauma that actually needs to have trauma work, that is not an area that we can support with. We're not able to work on post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, as you may have heard of it, and that's when there's young people having intrusive thoughts or flashbacks. We're not able to work with OCD or obsessive compulsive disorder. If a young person is at the very beginning of some of those behaviours, then that is an area and a time that we would be able to work with. But if that behaviour has become very entrenched, that would need to have a referral on to Tier 3. If a young person has suicidal intent, they're planning, they have got means, and they've got significant intent on wanting to end their life, or have persistent self-harming as a way of managing on a very regular basis, that is a level that we would need to have a referral on. We're not a team that works on anger management as such. We're always interested in trying to think about what's behind the behaviour. So what is that anger representing? But we're not a team that delivers an anger management course. We don't deliver bereavement counselling, although we do work with young people where there has been bereavement. As I said earlier, we can think about eating patterns, but we're not able to work on eating disorders. And again, we may do some screening and then we would refer on to the appropriate services for that. And we're not a counselling service, so we're not able to work on relationship issues that would benefit from a counselling approach.
Okay, so the last slide here is just if you want any more information about our service, it is all on C-Zone. So we do have some videos that can be shared with parents or children and young people on our C-Zone links here as well. Also included is our information guides for parents and carers and our welcome packs that explain what our service is and what to expect for children and young people. And then lastly is our contact details. So as I said previously, our doors are wide open to conversations. It really is important to us that schools are informing the work that we do. So please do get in contact if you ever want more information. Thank you.
Many thanks. Bye-bye.